Hey, fellow computer dreamers, welcome to our episode 7 of our Dreaming to Compete series. In this amazing conversation with Francis Piche, coach and speaker, I was able to learn how to live a happy, purposeful life by doing what makes my heart come alive and just being myself. Listen to the full conversation and let me know in the chats below to see what was your biggest takeaway. I'm your host, JP Giraldo. I'm thrilled to have you here with Francis Piche, an amazing coach. I had the experience to be one of his coaches, and I'll just let it off to Francis. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you do?
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm so happy that you're doing these type of things and you're expanding your inspiration. I've been very inspired by being your coach, and it's just the beginning. So what I do is I like to call myself a mindset alchemist because we are transmuting basically the limiting beliefs into empowered beliefs. And lately also, we were just talking about it before we started the recording, I'm also additioning the breathwork component to it because there's a lot of emotions that are stored in the body. So we work on the mind and we work on the body. And at the end of the day, it's really to create your best life. So we are similarly working on the same thing. It's about creating the best dreams with the way we are, the way of being.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got here?
I didn't expect to be a mindset alchemist per se. What I also do is keynote speaking, and that's where I'm actually going into a little bit more because I just love to inspire the people. Initially, that was my dream. I started more in sales, and that's what I did for a big part of my life. And the reason I did it was just because I was kind of chasing the money, and I was chasing you can say dreams, but I was not coming from the right state of mind. And so it led me to some success, but at the same time, I was not always fulfilled. I worked in photocopier industry with Xerox and electronics industry with also real estate. But deep down, I knew that I wasn't really reaching my potential. I was not really using full of my heart. So the interesting part is that maybe at 16 years old, my godfather gave me a card for my birthday. And he said, Francis, if there's any advice I can give you, do what makes your heart come alive. Otherwise, you'll be poor all your life. So I was 16 years old, got that card, didn't really listen to it. And then at 2021, I got my first job. And guess what? I chose exactly the contrary. I had two choices. One was going to travel some places where I was always inspired by different cultures. I wanted to work abroad. But the salary was not that great. And then I had the other opportunity with a multinational with the expenses paid and all that and the commission. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go for this. And, but after 4 years, my flame inside my body started to diminish pretty much every day. And until I decided to make a change and go for Xerox. And that same week when I started, I was in a relationship for 7-8 years, and we were just about to get married 3 months from the wedding. And my fiance at the time said, you know what, I want to cancel the wedding. So that threw me off because all of a sudden, all of the dreams and all the things that I had in my mind just collapsed. And then I had to really reevaluate what was important. And yet I was not making the right choices per se. I definitely had some success and I love selling, but I also realized at one point, like I said, 20 years after that, I didn't follow the advice of really doing what makes my heart come alive. And through that, I went through personal journey of personal development with, Tony Robbins event. And then I did part of their coaching. And then I hired my first coach, Gary Mahler. And he's been an extremely important person in my life. So since 2014, really, I started to be a coachee myself. And then I went to different types of events also for keynote speaking, online training, all of these things. And then I realized, you know what? I had the dream to speak, and I realized that it's great to have an impact when you speak on many people. And I've also realized that when you speak one-on-one and when you're being coached, you have such an impact on the person's life, and you can really see it, as opposed to when you speak, you don't quite see which one you impacted. So I thought, you know what, I think I really like coaching. And I started to coach from that point on maybe 2017. And now, with breath work and everything, I'm going back to my voice, the breath and the voice. And I want to impact more people now with my voice, with my speaking. And I know also that I'll have the chance to coach the people that want to be coached by hearing my story, by seeing how I was able to change people's life. And that's my new goal. So I'm going back to what my godfather was saying, really.
So now what's your biggest dream?
The biggest dream is to speak across the world, and really in stadiums that are 50,000 people plus. And really my dream and my mission is to help people to have better thoughts, because a thought leads to your feeling, leads to your behavior, and you can be one thought away from heaven or one thought away from hell. And really, once you realize that you are the one that can choose that thought, then life is amazing. And what we need to do is really kind of re-impress new ideas in the subconscious mind, so that we realize that we're enough, that we're worthy of having it all. We're capable of doing so many things. And the problem is that just people don't think properly. And that's not their fault. It's just because we've been conditioned our whole life by either the society, our parents, our friends, that we're not good enough, that we need to have more, whatever it is. And we start to believe these thoughts, and then that shapes our life. So my mission is really to help people to reach their highest potential with their mind. Like, first, to really have better thoughts, and so then they can achieve their dreams.
That's awesome. So I just see yourself as like in a stadium where like Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or golf, like all these players who like these teams, professional teams are playing, but you not be playing like per se the sport, but you be like a speaker right there. I love that.
I love your picture. This is it. And you're talking about this, and we see Ronaldo in the back of your head. This is perfect. Yes.
I love that. So is Gary still your coach?
At the moment,
You have the coach?
like he was my coach until 2020, well, last year, and then I hired another coach because it's also working corporate. So his name is Rich, and he's in Amsterdam. So, and my intention is to go back to Gary, because he helped me, like he was basically my coach for 7-8 years. And so, and I think it's very important to have a coach. So, because there's things that we cannot see without them, right? Like there's like blind spots that only it's easier for them to see it because we're just in our head. And so, and that's my next step. Yeah.
So do you think like everyone should have a coach?
I mean, it's really a choice. Nobody needs a coach per se. I think it's the reason why you choose to have a coach is just because you want to accelerate your path. You want to get more power. So it's not that there's something wrong with anyone that chooses to have a coach. It's just that at one point you realize, well, the high achievers, they have a coach. And the reason why they have it is just because they can help them. They can guide them. They can help them see what they don't see. And so from that, you actually achieve your goals faster. And for some, it's also healing parts of themselves that needed to be healed. And there's different ways of doing it. So some people will go for, like I said, the breathwork therapist, or they'll go with the coaching, and some other will go with therapists. I like coaching because instead of focusing too much on the past, we actually pick up a goal and we remove the conditioning that's in the way to help you achieve that. And we do that by changing the way of being. And you and I have worked on that quite a lot.
Yeah. So what do you think are the biggest things that get on our way on that path to our dreams?
Like I said, it's just is our belief system. And a belief is when you have a thought that you repeat over and over and over and over and over again, and then it becomes your belief. So and then now it's your paradigm, it's your filter. So if I see the world as an example, let's pick up money. If you see that money is limited, it's probably because you heard it so many times from society, from parents, and it's like you gotta be careful. Don't spend it too much; it's gonna go away. And then you hear that, and then you have an experience, and that experience, because of the thinking that you heard, is confirming that, and then you're like, oh, that's right, that's true, that's a truth. And now that's just your truth, and that's why there's I don't remember who said that exactly, but they say, I think it was Dr. Joseph Murphy in his book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, but he was talking about how rich people get richer and poor people get poorer. And it's the only reason why is because the rich people, they have a rich mentality and they have a growth mentality. And for them, they don't see money as being a scarcity. It's available everywhere. And for them, they get richer because they reinforce their belief and their belief and their belief, and that's the reality. And then you have poor people if they don't change their thinking and their mindset, then they will always find the evidence that it's true. There's not enough. There's not enough. There's not enough. And then they live from that world. And the world is starting with an I am statement, like a way of being. I am not good enough, or I'm not going to be able to get that. And so as soon as you say that, that becomes your life sentence. It's the source of all of your behavior. It's the source of all your results. And it started with what you told yourself, the judgments that you have about yourself. So really, essentially, life is a direct reflection of the judgments that you have about yourself. So if you say, I am confident, then you're going to do confident actions, and these confidence actions will give you amazing results, amazing outcomes. But if you say, I am shy, now your life is going to give you what you get when you're shy. You're going to do not enough actions because you're shy. And because you don't do the actions you're supposed to do because of fear, of embarrassment, or whatever it is, then you don't get the results you want.
So you and I have worked on changing this belief. I see what you're saying. I had some beliefs that were limiting me, and now I'm changing those. I'm working on that. How can people work on changing those beliefs that are making the barrier between where they are and their dreams?
Well, it's a work, right? It's a work in progress. It doesn't happen like that because the reason is something that you've had for all your life. So for me, with Gary as an example, we spent years before we spent at 1.4 days together, 3 days and a half. And so what we did, if I explain the framework so that people can understand, is that we start from the premise of all events are neutral. You remember that, right? So
Yeah.
which means that everything that happens in life is really neutral. It's the reason why we think something is or isn't is because of our perception and because of the meaning that we have to it. I'm not sure I'm going to give an example. I'm going to wait. So based on that, there are some events that happens in our life. And so I'll give you an example. So I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. My parents were traveling. They were not always traveling, so that was kind of rare for them to do that at that time. So I was okay with it because, I thought, well, my parents were treating themselves right. I was being babysat by my grandma. And there was one day where I needed to go to the church because there was a confirmation, like some sort of event that's important in the Catholic path. So I was about to go, and then my grandma told me I'm sick, like I don't feel well. I'm not gonna go. But I looked at her and I felt, what do you mean? Like for me, she didn't look like she was sick. She was not coughing. She just said I'm not feeling well. And so all of a sudden, I'm going to church alone, and I'm on the bench while everyone's with their family. They're celebrating something powerful. My parents are gone. I'm not upset about my parents. But then it's painful. It's painful to be alone on the bench and you look everyone. So in my head, like this was neutral. It was like I was not being abandoned. But what I told myself is I'm abandoned. I'm alone. And then that's painful. So for me to deal with that, my way of coping now, I have a strategy and I'm saying, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need you. I'm good. Because this is how I can deal with my pain. But really what I said to myself is, I'm alone and I don't need you. So now I start to live my life with that filter. Now I could be afraid of not being alone. I could be afraid of being abandoned. And then I live my life through that. And I'm also telling myself, I'm good. I don't need you. Years later, I'm changing school. I was part of the popular kids in one school. Then I'm going into a different school. I'm again part of a gang of popular kids. And then one day they say, we need to talk to you, Francis. And then they surround me and they say, we want you out of the gang. I'm like, what? So now, out of nowhere, again, like my grandma, out of nowhere, like now they abandon, they reject me. And so I'm automatically, what's kicking in? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I don't need you. And then in my mind, I'm also saying, I'm better than you. I'm thinking I'm better than you. So that's how I can deal with my pain. So all of a sudden, my life could look like, I want to make sure that I'm not rejected. I want to make sure that I'm not abandoned. And I want to be the best, because if I'm the best, I don't need you. And all of these things, right? So, but I'm shaping my life through that. So the reality is, was I really abandoned? I choose people. I can choose other people. I'm not really abandoned by life, but that's what I tell myself. And so that judgment now shapes me. So the work is to go back to some of these events when you felt you lost the power, and it could be different things for different people. And then you have to forgive yourself for the judgment that you have about yourself. Because nobody said to me, Francis, you're abandoned, you're bad. Like, they just say, we want you out of the gang. But I registered that as I'm abandoned. So I have to forgive myself for judging myself as I am abandoned, I'm rejected, and really kind of feel these emotions, and to a point where I feel good. And I can even have some gratitude for the fact that it shaped me in a certain way, because I always wanted to be the best. And thanks to that, like, I had some results, and I also forgive myself for judging myself that I was abandoned, because I'm not. The truth is, and that's what we call the source code. You and I, we talked about it, right? Like, so it was about going into the source of the judgments that I had about myself, the code. Like, it's really kind of programming. You type that, I am abandoned, your life is going to spit different ways of living. Now we go back to this source code, and then we say, okay, I forgive myself. I erase that, and now I rewire it with a new way of being that starts with I am. The truth is I am, and it could be I am supported. I am that I am. Like, everything that I choose after I say I am becomes my reality. So now we have a declaration of a new way of being. And that's how we live our life from now. So if I tell myself every day, and I got to repeat it every day, because if I don't, then the default program comes back. And it could come back also, especially if I'm tired or if I get triggered, like now all of a sudden, like all this, the default programming comes back. But if I really have a little bit of a moment and I observe my thoughts and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? This is not the right thought. I can reject that. That's not true. Who I am is, I am presence. I am unlimited power, whatever you choose to have as a statement. Now you live your life from that, and that becomes a whole new reality.
That's right. And well, I'm living right now that I just had a really bad accident that you know about. Like, most people know about it. I was in an induced coma, and like all these challenges, I'm getting surgery, and there's all these challenges that I'm like, everything was going well. Now I have all these challenges that I can choose what beliefs, what I want, what I think of this event. So I'm responsible to choosing how I react to it. So either I can lay on bed and say like, oh, why does this happen to me? Like, life's so bad. Like, why to me? Why to me? Okay, why to me? How is this gonna help me grow? How am I gonna change from this? instead of being here and taking a step down and 2 steps up, going down, 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 and restarting. So how can people deal with challenges on their path?
Well, they just have to know that they're not their thoughts and they're not their emotions. And it took me a while to understand that. And what it means is, like, if you go back to the programming, right? So when we were young, we didn't have this understanding that all events are neutral, the understanding that we can choose our thoughts. We didn't have that. It's almost like we had this mind, this subconscious mind that was being filled with all of the thoughts. And then there was one day that it closed in that subconscious mind. Like I'm driving at a circle. It's like a stick person. You have your head, and then you have that lower part. That's your subconscious mind. If you have a visual, because we think in images. And so you can imagine that above that is your conscious mind. So once your subconscious mind is controlling 96 to 98% of everything that you do, you're on autopilot. And I don't remember exactly how many thousands of thoughts we have a day. I think 60,000. And I think that 85% of them are recycled every day. That means that 85% of the thoughts you had yesterday are the same today. So it's on and on and on and on. So it's just the subconscious mind that really shapes our life. So that's why I say we're not our thoughts and we're not our emotions, because really those thoughts and emotions were conditions for such a long time, but they're not created by you. They run you. So until you decide to consciously choose the thoughts, like you said, I can choose my thought. I can, like, now life becomes amazing because you have the power and you're responsible for creating the life you want. And you don't need to feel bad for the past. Like, it's the past. Like, the past belongs in the past. Like, so if you want to stick to the past and be resentful about the past, well, imagine this container that's a battery, right? I said that yesterday in the video. And this battery is all the energy that could create your new life. So if you're using half of that and it's all about the past and you're resenting the past and you use all of that energy in the battery, what's left now for the future? You only have half. And if you're using 90% of it, then what's left for the future? 10%. So you can say, okay, I forgive myself for the past. I actually created that with thoughts that I was not aware of. Now I can create with new thoughts, and I just need to repeat and use all of that energy and focus my attention on the future. That's why Joe Dispenza said most people, they have a predictable future. It's because they just live from the past, and the past creates the future, as opposed to have an invented future, the one that you create with new thoughts.
Would this be an accurate image of the
yeah
that you were talking about?
That's beautiful. Yes. So you can even have like half the line for subconscious and conscious. So conscious is great. Conscious helps you to choose your thoughts, to reject it. The subconscious has actually no authority to reject or accept. The subconscious accepts everything you're telling it. That's why programming works great when you program your mind in the morning or at night, because you're more in the suggestive state. So the worst thing people can do is watch news just before bed, because most of the news are just negative. And actually, so now you're kind of in a hypnotic moment, and you receive all that information, and then you dream, and it stews inside you. It's programming every day. That's why I choose not to watch news. I don't. And if I do, like I did by accident 2 weeks ago while waiting at the car dealer for a repair, and I thought, oh, wow, in 5 minutes, my heartbeat almost got more intense, because everything is, maybe there's a recession, what's going to happen? And they tell you in the big news and the big, it's crazy. So I thought, wow, I'm so blessed and so grateful that I'm not watching news every day. And then this is another device that we have to be very careful with, because that could actually distract ourselves from our goals. So as you can, maybe people don't see it, but when I lift my phone, there's no notification. I don't see anything because I decided to remove this functionality. It's called rise to wake or whatever it is. But you remove it if you have an iPhone. And now when I pick my phone, it doesn't grab my attention, and now my life is not going into the phone. I choose when I want to use my phone because distraction is distracting your dreams.
So what's the number one practice that you would tell people to start doing to change that subconscious or that conscious?
Well, I would say it's first, before you even maybe start to change all that, you got to go within. And the best way I find myself to go within is to start to meditate and to be still and observe your thoughts and just know that these thoughts, they're not true. You can pick them or you can reject them. And you can start to ask some questions. And of course, like if you really want to do the work, you can go online, find other people, have a coach, and really kind of go through the source. Because I find for me, this is the best investment you can make, because now you're starting to realize how you can really create your life. And so, like I have a program that's called Thinking into Results. And that's based on the book Think and Grow Rich that was written by Napoleon Hill in 1937, I think. And so what he did, he's like, you know what? Andrew Carnegie at the time was one of the richest person. And he said, I commission you to interview 500 of the most successful people. And I want you to come up with the recipe. What is it that makes them rich? And rich is not just money. It's about anything you want to have in your life. So he realized that there's 13 principles that these people are having. And he talks about the mind. He talks about autosuggestions. He talks about masterminding. He talks about burning desire. So many different concepts, self-image, and Thinking into Results is based on that book. So now people can start to invest in themselves with, let's say, a program like that for 6 months really create and understand how the mind works, how to use their mental faculties. We have imagination, reasoning, perception, imagination, intuition, all of these things that we can use to get ourselves out of a situation that we don't like or to create a situation that we love. Self-image, like how do you see yourself? If people are asking themselves right now, how do I see myself? Do I feel like I am worthy? Do I love myself? We have two images. We have the image that we have internally, and then we have the external image. Guess which one is more powerful?
External image? I mean, the internal image is more powerful, but the external image is the one that is in most people. Like that most people have, because they're like thinking about what are the other people thinking about me.
So in that sense, like your external image, what I mean is more like how do I look, like my clothing and everything. So the external image is derived from your internal image, but what really runs the show is your internal image. Because if you judge yourself as, oh, I'm not a good salesperson, or I'm not this, I'm not that, or I'm shy, then how are you going to behave? Your internal image, the way you see yourself, your image of yourself, drives your life. That's why there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And what he said, he was a plastic surgeon. And he was doing surgeries on people. And let's say he would remove a scar on someone's face. And he had another person, he would remove the same type of scar on their face. One person, all of a sudden, their self-esteem would just go up and they would feel great. And another one, there was no results. It went back to the same. He's like, that's interesting. So the external image has changed, but one all of a sudden feels like way more self-esteem. So it's like, there's got to be two images then. There's a self-image and then there's the external image. And you realize that the one that had the biggest impact is a self-image.
Wow. Powerful. So thinking about your 15-year-old self, what would you tell him? What advice
15?
would you give him?
15. I think around my 15-year-old, I would say, yeah, just love yourself. Like you're love. You're amazing. I think that's what I would tell myself. I think I felt that I was afraid of being abandoned, or maybe like deep down, like I was afraid of that. And so, and then maybe I felt that I was not good enough. I felt that I was not good enough and I had to prove myself. So that's why I told myself I'm better than you, because I felt inferior. And so I had to prove myself, because deep down I didn't feel like I was worth it. So, and the other thing that I've realized lately also is because of how my family dynamic worked, is that my grandma lost her husband when at a young age. So my dad never had, like his dad, like he died when he was 11. My mom, her mom died when she was 2, and her dad, like when she was 16. So in my family, it's almost like everything was fragmented. Like you cannot have it all, you know? So I realized that unconsciously, if I'm healthy, if I'm with the love of my life and I have other things in my life, something's gonna happen. I cannot have it all. Like I'm not safe to have it all. Because and I would rather have my parents to be alive as opposed to be rich, as an example. So then lately I realized, no, I am worthy and safe to have it all. That's just something that with work, internal work, I realized. So I think when I was to tell my 15-year-old, I would say, you're worthy and safe to have it all. You're loved.
To have it all. And do you think we can achieve everything that we set our minds to?
I mean, the all is, what's the all, right? It's a never-ending thing. So I think what's very important is to be happy with the journey. That's another thing that I would actually tell myself now that you're asking the question, because I was always chasing, because I felt the lack. And so I thought, oh, you know, I'm going to be happy when I have the house. I'm going to be happy when I'm a VP. I'm going to be happy when this, and this, and that. And then life is like over and you have to start over again. That was when my fiance decided to cancel the wedding. And so I was always chasing, and I was in that chase. I was not happy in the chase. It was always about the carrot and the carrot. Now I realize that all life is in the journey. Because if you spend 5 years in order to get the big goal, how's that 5 years? Is that miserable? Who are you as a person with the people around you? Are you someone that's like, leave me alone, I got to do this, and I don't have time for this, and, you know, you're wasting my time. But now you have that 5 years that it takes to get there. You might realize that the whole thing, the reason why you're living, is more about the people you're with and who you are and that journey, as opposed to the big goal. So the purpose of a goal is not to achieve it. The purpose of the goal is to grow. And I think that we had this conversation 2 weeks ago. I think purpose of life is really to use the maximum potential of your own gifts. And there's only one of you. Everyone else is taken, like Steve Artisan would say. So be you. Just be you. And then I had this video that I made once. I realized, do you know what are the chances of you being alive? Do you know what this stat is?
No.
I think 1 in 400 trillion or something like that. Can you imagine? That's the chance that you have to be alive. So winning the lottery is 1,000 times easier. 1,000 times easier to win the lottery as opposed to you being alive. So imagine the creator, you know, this is an image I had in my mind. The creator is like, okay, I'm going to give life to you. Like there's one chance out of 400. I'm going to give 400 trillion. I'm going to give life to you. And now you're so lucky. And then you are trying to imitate somebody else. What do you think the creator would do? He's like, no, I didn't create, like, I didn't create you for, no, like, you're unique. Like, no, don't do what the other people, no, look, I give you this chance. I give you this chance. You're unique. Like, don't do somebody else's dream, your dream. Do you. Like, that's why you're here.
That's so funny, and it's so true. And I posted a video a couple weeks ago, and was just talking about living to our fullest potential, like living our fullest. Because with the accident I had, I was like, I started realizing and thinking that, okay, yeah, life is granted, as you said. Like, the chances of us being alive are small, and then there are big chances that we don't know if today's my last day. Like, we don't know when it's gonna be our last day, so why not live it to the fullest potential and like being ourselves, as you said, living our lives and doing the things that we like, doing the things that we love, that makes us happy.
You know the 5 regrets of the dying? Have you heard about that?
No.
So somebody just interviewed the people that were just about to die, and he asked them about their regrets. And some of them, one of them is like, I wish I expressed myself. That's what it meant. Like that I was not paying attention too much of what the people were thinking. That's what they regret. So it's like, just be you, be fully self-express, express your gift. You've got this chance. And some people, and we all like remember the conversation again we had, like it was one that inspires me, and I'm just thinking about him. And I don't know why, but his name is Henry Fraser, and he's in UK. And he had an accident when he was young, and he loved sports. He loved sports, and he was good at it. And then he had an accident, and he basically broke his neck, I think, and then he became how do you say it? He was not in control of his limbs anymore. So the only thing that he was able to use is his mouth and his face. So now you have a choice, right? Like you said, you know, you can just be very disappointed, very depressed, and say, my life sucks and I want to end it. But now he's probably came to the realization, what can I do with this? That's all I have. That's my potential. That's my gift. Now my gift is this. I only have this. So he's a mouth artist. He's painting with his mouth. And he's a speaker, and he inspires people. And it's only with his mouth, because that's all he's got in his brain and everything. He's using the full maximum potential of that. And there's even it's easy in UK, so it's not Broadway, but there's a show that's being created for him. That what is created. And there's someone that's on a wheelchair, and they do him, and, you know, there's a character, and people are going to see the show. Can you imagine what he's done with that? There's another woman, I don't remember her name, but she doesn't have any arms. She was born that way. And she's a plane pilot. She's using her toes to drive. And she's eating with her toes. Like, can you imagine what's possible? She's like, okay, I have no arms. What am I gonna do? Well, I guess I have my feet and I have my toes. They can move. I have 5. Okay, cool. She's doing that, and she's got a baby.
Wow, that's true. We don't really know our fullest potential. Like, there's no way to know our fullest potential. Like,
to imagine what you can do. So you asked the question, you know, and I know that sometimes it's difficult. Life could be difficult, and we are depressed, and we feel alone, and we feel like nothing is working. And we have to go through that and just realize that it's not true. That it's not true, and that there are some people that are loving us, and that's just a bad thinking. Like, take it as almost like a little virus that you have to remove, because our true essence is love. Our true essence is potential, creation, all of that. And if people want to reach out to me, DM or whatever, like they can. Like, it's just like to realize that everything is possible, and that they don't need to accept any bad thoughts. It's just not created by them, and it can change that. And it can get inspired by people like Henry Fraser or even Jake Olson, who at 12 years old was told, we need to make a surgery on your eyes because there's a cancer. So, and then imagine the day and they remove his sight. So there was a day where he had the last dinner with his parents, that he could see his parents and his siblings. That was the last day. Imagine that. Like, you're losing your sight. You have that. Imagine you losing that. Guess what he did? He became a footballer, and he was able to snap the ball without his eyes. He's blind, and he's playing golf. Blind. Doesn't accept yeah, I can still do something, and he's doing it. And again, he's inspiring people.
Wow. Again, there's so many like people that.
So we had like an example of someone that is paralyzed, another one that's blind, another one that doesn't have any arms. Like, they all did something with it. So ask yourself, do I have my arms? Do I have my eyes? Can I smell? Can I hear? I can do all of that. Then if I have a better mind, I can do anything. That's awesome.
Yeah, all these people making big things and inspiring other people, and like creating things with these restrictions, and we're here complaining about the challenges that we're having.
We're restricting ourselves. We're putting ourselves in our own prison. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else. We can always find a story of someone that was able to get out of jail, to transcend their difficulties. We hear it everywhere. So what we need is, what do we really want? Like that burning desire, that commitment, that decision. We worked on that, and that's actually, I acknowledge you for understanding the power of decision, because you realize that it's not about money and it's not about time. You will find the money and you will find the time once you make a decision. And you became very creative in ways of making requests so that you can create what you wanted. At first, I remember the conversation. You said, well, if here's what I can do, can you do it? I'm like, no. And then we had a conversation. The conversation was about, just realize you can ask anything you want. It's making bold requests. Use your mind to find ways to create the money, to create the time. And then you really wanted it, and you made that decision. So it's not about the external circumstances. It starts with us. So for people right now, it's like, what do I really want? What makes my heart come alive? What really excites me? If I had it all, what would I do? Then do it. So going back to who I was at 21 and 22, and when I decided to take that fork for the best company with the best money, imagine how far I could have been by being in my own passion, traveling. Even if I made a little bit less money, it was at 30 to 40% less money than the other one. In 10 years, you can become an expert at a market, at whatever you do. And then because of that, and because of the joy and the passion that you have and the energy that you're radiating, then people want to be with you. Then you're the best. And I love that. Now, all of a sudden, money comes easily. But it starts with the treasure. The treasure is in your heart. So once you tap into it, that's where all the abundance comes. And the abundance is, like I said, it's not just money. It's just you. Like, if you have a smile on your face, do you think that there's more chances that you can find the love of your life if you are a happy person? If you're smiling, if you're fun to be with?
Yeah.
Or if you're depressed because you're not really listening to your heart.
All right. And we can decide whatever we want and do whatever we're called to be. Like, just like Martin Luther King said something around the lines like, do the best to be like, do the best job on what you're called to do. Like, if you were called to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper. If you were called to be a soccer player, be the best soccer player you can be. So, like, without comparison, just like the best I can be, the best I can do.
Exactly. Exactly. So when we say I am the best, we're not comparing necessarily ourselves to anyone else. We're just saying I am the best. I am the best I can be. And if you really are the best you can be and you love it so much, you become the best and maybe the best in the world with your passion.
Yes. Well, thank you, Francis, for being here today. I want to finish off with 2 questions. And the first one is, what is a dream to you? What's the meaning of a dream?
The meaning of a dream to me is the full expression of our heart's desire. It's being so excited. There's an image you have in your mind. The dream is you're grateful for everything in your life. And that's the thing about the dream, and to create it is to be grateful first and to be that person first. You know, there's someone I was interviewed, actually Bob Proctor asked someone that reached a goal of $1 million revenue. And he said, how do you feel? He said, I feel good. He said, so he's like, and he said, and do you feel different? He's like, no. He said, do you know why? Because you've been feeling that feeling of $1 million revenue for a while. Now pick up a new goal and choose a new feeling, a new emotion of how you would feel with a new goal. So, yeah, the question for me, the dream is to be that full expression of gratitude and joy right now, and that's the expression of our heart coming from the joy and the burning desire, the radiating joy of doing what we love.
I love that. What about, what does competition mean to you?
Yeah, I was expecting that question at one point or the other. This is good. I think competition, you can see it in so many different ways, right? It's just our own definition. So for me, I see competition as very healthy because you can choose to see it healthy. So what I mean by that is that once you see someone that is able to go so far with their skills and ability in one field, that is inspiring, right? You look at any type of pro players, Ronaldo or Max Verstappen with F1 or Senna, you can choose whoever. You're like, wow, this is so, I'm impressed by what that person is doing. So competition, some people are stretching themselves so much that it inspires you to stretch yourself as well. That's why Bannister, when he broke the record of a mile in 4 minutes, everyone after saw that it's possible, and that inspired so many other people. So that competition helped other people to excel and be at their best. So I think competition is healthy when you don't judge yourself as a bad person because you're not there yet. You use the competition as, hey, these people is helping me to stretch into even further. You know, and I'm sure if you do a test, you know, let's say you swim and you're like, okay, let's see, let's compete. You know, everyone's going to do their best to swim as fast as possible. And you would probably you're probably going even faster than if you were just doing it for yourself. And yet you also can use it for being the best for yourself. Does that make sense? So you have the competition is helping you to just say, yes, I'm excited, I want to win. Not for being better than anyone else, but just for the fact that you're growing. You can see how far you can go.
That aligns so much from the root of the word compete. The word compete comes from the Latin word competere, which means to strive or contend for something together. So we're helping each other be better at the end of the day with competition.
Exactly. Look at the Olympics. If we didn't have the Olympics, would we have achieved all these records? Everyone's like, oh my God, this person just was able to go. I want to do it too. And everyone's, beautiful definition. Thank you.
And that is showing us a little bit of what we're capable of.
Yeah.
Because she made it, I'm capable of that and more, and then more and more and more and more.
And that's inspiring.
Well, Francis, We had a great time together. Thank you very much for being in the channel and with our competitor dreamers, dream to compete. So own our dreams by competing and compete by owning our dreams. Thank you. See you all later.
So much for inviting, and I love what you do. Keep inspiring. You're amazing.